Cooking. Some find it therapeutic, a comfort from home and family life. Others, a creative outlet of sorts. Myself, on the other hand...
And there is the luxury dish.
Well, let's just say I'm not going to be winning Star Baker on the Great British Bake Off anytime soon. Or am I?
Oh no!
You're actually beyond stupid.
My brief was supposedly simple enough. Create a full main course dish and serve it to my crew without giving any of them food poisoning. Now, I wasn't entirely sure I'd be able to uphold the whole not poisoning anyone part on my own, but I had a plan.
This is my friend Mark, who is a relatively experienced chef, and you're going to show me how to, or at least attempt to show me how to make a main course dish. So
I'm not sure how to do anything.
You could already tell that this was going to be a highly productive and fruitful relationship.
what is the recipe you've chosen and why have you chosen it? Oh, okay.
Chicken balties.
Mark had just handed me his quote, extremely specific chicken balti recipe, which could have literally just said make chicken balti and it would have been just as helpful. I mean, for one thing, what does toast whole spices even mean? So now that I had fully comprehended Mark's recipe and wasn't confused whatsoever, it was time to get started.
We're going. Oh, God, right, okay.
My strategy at this point was relatively simple. Follow the recipe and try not to set the kitchen on fire. That plan was immediately flawed from the outset, however. As you may have established, I didn't have a clue what toast whole spices meant, but I did understand that it involved spices somehow, so I did what any master chef would have done in my stead.
A little bit of that.
That'll do. Put a little bit of everything in and hope for the best. Mark did not approve.
I don't know what I meant to do.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a hand, okay?
Okay,
I'm
cool.
gonna give you a hand.
Excellent.
Put that in the f***ing
Once Mark had set me somewhat right,
That makes sense.
idiot.
it was time for the next step, cooking the vegetables, which I quickly found out also entailed preparing them. First up was an onion, which I had a little tactic for hidden up my sleeve.
Some sort of regular moisture. And then squish it.
If you can't tell what I'm doing, prepare to be amazed. So you hear about people's eyes stinging when they try to cut and peel onions, right? Well, if you submerge the onion in water and then prepare it, no more eye stingy stuff. I'll be honest, Mark wasn't as impressed with my trick as I thought he'd be.
I was trying to feel it underwater so the stuff wouldn't thing in my eye.
You're actually beyond stupid.
Alongside Mark's disapproval, if anything, the water was making the onion much harder to cut and peel, so I went with the more traditional method, and then spent the next 26 minutes cutting one onion. 26 minutes. Next up was the tomato, which at first seemed like it was going to go just as terribly as the onion.
Look at that. No, oh no, it doesn't work. Okay. Go. Oh no.
But it actually worked out okay, and only took around 10 minutes to prepare, which I considered a personal success. And then finally was the garlic clove, which went well considering I may or may not have confused it with an onion earlier that day. Now, before we go on, you might be wondering, wasn't there multiple other vegetables that were still left to be prepared? Yes, there was. However, I'd spent so long on the onion that we only had about 40 minutes left or so to film. So we decided to have one of the crew members quickly cut up the rest so I could get started on the chicken. Because, you know, it wouldn't be an Innes tries without someone else doing at least half the work for me.
This is the bit that I'm scared of because salmonella is an issue. So I assume I'll be fine. In fact, I don't need
You
more
can touch
minutes.
it. You
Can
can
I
touch
touch it? Yes. Okay. Good. Excellent.
Salmonella concerns aside, I eventually managed to cut up the chicken and now we were ready to actually start cooking. However, I still had some gripes with Mark's recipe.
We separated the spices into
Yes.
two different types of spices,
Yes.
didn't we? So what are these spices?
The whole ones.
Okay, so what we're going to do, how are we going to toast them?
Get a toaster.
Okay, Innes,
Yes, Mark.
what happens in a toaster?
It heats stuff up.
Okay,
We don't have a toaster per se.
Yes.
What do
But
we
that
have?
won't toast both sides.
What?
That won't toast both sides. Like
It
toast
doesn't need to toast both sides.
Why are you saying toast then? You should not be cooked both places.
No, because you're not frying it. You're toasting it because you're not putting any oil in. You can put oil in if you want.
But that doesn't make. Why is it called?
After we argued for a further 5 minutes, we decided it might be a good idea if I actually started cooking my food. I added the spices, some bay leaves, oil, and the vegetables, and let them simmer away. Is simmer the right term? I don't quite know. Now I had to prepare my rice, which surely even I couldn't mess up, right? I masterfully added some water to the pan,
Try not to scald myself.
and then...
There we go. Cool. So.
I managed to drop the kettle, knocking my entire bowl of rice to the floor. But hey, at least I only had to do 6 steps now. With rice out of the question, I was now relying entirely on my vegetables and chicken to get me through this. I added my chicken,
Did you salt your chicken? Nope. Forgot about it. Oh well.
unseasoned because you know, who needs salt and pepper? And after a couple of minutes of stirring, I noticed how unique mine's looked compared to Mark's. But it didn't matter, because it was cooked and ready to serve. It was time for the taste test, and for my crew to indulge in my unique take on chicken balti.
I'm not.
You're a madman.
Oh, Slavena's trying it first. Here we go.
I trust Innes. He wouldn't let us down.
It's not that bad.
It's just cinnamon. That's all I can taste.
Okay, so maybe I put a bit too much cinnamon in. But it was edible, and I can confirm no one got food poisoning from it. So, I consider that a success. So, in conclusion, is cooking worth it? Does the satisfaction of doing it yourself make food that much better? No. Cooking's terrible. Long live the takeaway. The end.